What's going on YouTube? Team Starcraft here, bringing you another video today. Earlier this week I did upload a video, did the overview of the Terran race, kind of talked about the tech tree changes and the changes to the units and the new units that came out with the release of Legacy of the Void. Now this video is intended for anyone who just picked up Legacy of the Void. You know, you might have saw the introduction of the new units and the changes to all the races that they posted like 9-10 months ago, but they changed a bunch during the beta, so if you weren't following with the beta, got a little summary video here today to show you what they have changed about the Zerg race. Now this is probably subject to change. I know there's going to be a bunch of patches, but as of today, November 24th, this is how the Zerg race looks, and these are the changes since Heart of the Swarm to the Zerg race. So let's start with our little friend here, the Zergling. Tried and true to the Zerg race. Honestly, not too much has changed for the Zergling. All the stats are still the same. It still has the same function. Can get the speed upgrade from the spawning pool. But what did change is after you do get to Hive Tech, you actually can get the adrenal glands upgrade. Now this increases the attack speed of Zerglings by 40%. Now you might be saying, what? They already had adrenal glands at Heart of the Swarm. But it's completely different. Heart of the Swarm, I think they gave a 20% boost to the Zergling attack. Now they give you 40%, so the Zerglings are pretty much twice as good when you get to the late game, and they can be very cost efficient now with the adrenal glands, so that was a very good buff for Zerglings. So all in all, Zergling did get better late game. Next unit is the Roach. Roach has not changed, except he got an evolution, which is the new unit, the Ravager. Roaches still do the same functions from the Roach Den. You can still get Glial Reconstitution to get increased speed on the Roaches, and Tunneling Claws, which lets the Roaches burrow underground, or move while burrowed underground, excuse me. But they do have the ability to morph into a Ravager. For 25 minerals and 75 gas, they can turn into a Ravager. This will be fun. Sorry, little easy AI Terran is trying to mess with the Swarm. That's right, get out of there. Anyways, so for an extra 25 minerals, 75 gas, he gets to morph to the Ravager, which is this unit right here. Now what changes? First of all, it's kind of weird because Roach is 145 life, is an armor unit, does have 1 armor, does 16 damage, and has a 4 range on its acid saliva. The Ravager is a bit of a different unit. It does have 1 armor still, but it loses its armored property, which was kind of a buff in a sense, but it does lose 25 health points, so it goes from this little Roach to kind of a bigger, less tanky support unit. Now you might be asking, why would I evolve my Roach into this Ravager? Well, Plasma Discharge does do 16 damage, a little more than the Roach. Actually, that's the same as the Roach, but it does have 2 more range, so it's a 6 range instead of a 4 range. But you do get this ability called the Corrosive Bile. Now what this is, it launches a missile at target location dealing 60 damage to all units in the area upon impact. And I believe it does friendly damage too, so let's check these drones out over here. Fire it up, and you have a pretty solid range to use this, and after a short amount of lag time it does drop this little comet, and that does pretty solid damage, and does hit your own unit, so you do have to be careful. This ability is very good for dealing with like photon cannons or sieged up tanks, things that don't move. You can use it in an emergency if you have a bunch of Ravagers. It does hit air, so if you're getting chased you can try to hit some air units or catch them off guard. So all in all, it's kind of a fun ability. It does bring some more micro to the Zerg race. Kind of lets you play around to try to get some good hits off. This ability got nerfed. It was a lot stronger in the beta, but I mean, it's still got something to show for it. So Ravager still looks like a pretty fun unit to use. Corrosive Bile, definitely a lot of fun. Definitely has some applications. Next up, let's talk about our queens. Still spread creep, spawn the creep termers, still spawn larvae, can still transfuse. So only thing different is the way the larva eject mechanism works. So let's say you eject your larva. Let's see, I still have 175 energy, and this was to help focus more on micro instead of just a macro part of Starcraft. So if you're slipping, and since there's a lot more units to micro, they want you to be able to macro a little bit easier. So what you can actually do is queue up your larva eject. So I can actually spam this hatch and burn my energy, and it will continue to eject. So once this finishes, look, it automatically, the eggs spawn on the hatchery, and it's still ejecting larvae, and it doesn't really show how many times you've ejected your hatchery, which is weird, but you can spam it your hatcheries, and after these ones go, more larvae will eject, and it'll just keep going, which does help make it easier to micro, and spend your time doing other things like spreading your creep. Creep spread did get a little bit of a buff. I don't know if you can really tell, but apparently the speed that the creep spreads is increased now. So let's see. Let's look at this little exciting creep tumor and see how different it looks. So, I mean, I've never actually sat and just watched creep spread, but it does look considerably faster. Which is another buff. Does help Zerg gain more map control quicker. Alright, next up on the list is the... Oh, I didn't make one. Sorry. Amorphous to Baneling. Forgot the Baneling on my lineup. I've messed up. Ooh, there's some tanks coming up over here. I don't think they should hold off just fine. Let's heal that Roach. Keep that Roach alive. Let Roach hit that tank. Computers, man, just making my life. Got so many idle drones. Let's go mine this base out. Alright, anyways, back to where we were. So Zerglings still morph to Banelings. Banelings still do the same thing. Nothing's changed. You can still get centrifugal hooks from the Baneling nest to get the speed upgrade on the Banelings after you get your lair tech. Now, the next new unit, well, not the new unit, let's start with the Hydra. So Hydralisks still do the same. They did get a buff in the sense that their range and their speed upgrade are now combined. So that's definitely a plus for the Hydralisk. But now your Hydra Den can actually get an upgrade called Morph into Lurker Den. So for 150, 150 you morph into this thing right here, which is the Lurker Den. That allows you to build Lurkers. So Hydras can evolve to Lurkers for 50 minerals and 100 gas. And I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Brood War. Here's the Lurker. Lurker is a siege unit, can only attack while burrowed. Does get burrow for free, you don't have to research it once he comes out. 200 health, does have 1 armor, and does 20 damage to regular units, 30 against armored, and has a 9 range on his spine. So Lurkers are very good at taking down defenses like photon cannons, putting them in funnels, definitely good at dealing with bio and units that clump up. I'll kind of show you what its shot looks like. Now the one thing with the Lurker though is that actually if you do micro, you can micro against it. So let's see, if the Hydra sits there, he's going to get hit, but if the Hydra moves, you can actually get away from the... Well, maybe it's not that easy to micro. It's possible to micro. I think the Hydra might not be fast enough. Let me see, I have a faster unit. Whatever. I don't really care, just take my word for it. But this is the new Lurker, definitely good to have a little bit of splash damage for the Zerg race, because they had none prior, and now they've got some ground splash damage in the form of corrosive bile and the Lurker, so this definitely helps. Also very good in team games. I'm sure you're aware, this is Team Starcraft, where all we do is bring you the best in team games. Moving on down our line, what the heck is this Raven doing here? Get out of here. Alright, you're ruining my position! I should have had those guys in hold position. This is a show here, Raven, get away. Anyway, so Swarm Host did get changed. They changed it at the end of Heart of the Swarm. It's still the same. It can still spawn Locust. The Locust fly for free. You don't have to upgrade it anymore. And they do have pretty fast speed, 4.13. Get an extra 1.5 on creep, so they're very good. Kind of designed to be a mobile harass unit. These Locusts do dish out quite a bit of damage when they're on the ground. But they... let me swoop. See what it is. Nope, whatever. We'll spawn it again later. But they do good amount of damage, but after the Locusts are done, you still have to wait until this respawns. So you can't spam free units anymore, which is kind of good. But it seems like Swarmos hasn't really found his place yet. I haven't seen much use in any game so far. Infestors, they can move while burrowed, which is the same. They can still get the Neuroparasite upgrade. They still have fungal growth, and they can still spawn infested Terran. They were messing around with some new abilities during the beta, but they ended up reverting him back to the same old infestor that he's been, so not too much exciting for him. Let me just build a bunch of Zerglings, and Ultralisk, Hydras, Muta, Corruptors, just to keep this stuff defended. Anyways, so that's it. Infestor, not too much change. Still kind of has the same weird role that it had. Try to catch things with fungals, like big balls of mutas, maybe some air. Can still do a little harassment with infested Terran, and you can still use Neural Parasite, but who's ever really used Neural Parasite? Ever. Anyways, moving on to the air units for the Zerg. Overlords did get a change. They can still get their speed upgrade from the hatchery. Can still generate creep after you get your lair, but now they can actually have individual upgrades for 25 minerals, 25 gas. You can evolve your ventral sacs. You don't have to get it from the hatchery anymore. You actually evolve it for individual overlords, and then they can transport your units, which does help. You do need lair tech to get this upgrade, but does give more options for Zerg to harass, because you can just kind of be annoying, drop lings everywhere, and just, you know, move around the map. And this is what it looks like. It does look a little different. It's kind of got these glossy big balls on it, but when it looks like this, it can transport and drop things. Boop. So, all in all, to help Zerg get more harassment options, to help promote micro and more action-packed Starcraft games. Overseer sees invisibles, drops changelings, nothing's changed, can still use contaminate on buildings and structures. The Viper did get some sick changes. Viper I thought was already a pretty sweet unit. Can still consume to get more energy, doing damage to your buildings, and still abduct and pull things around that are not massive. And can still drop blinding clouds, but its new ability is the parasitic bomb. I use it on my own unit for 125, which means you can only use one per Viper. You can't use two per Viper. What it does is it does 90 damage over 7 seconds to the target area, and all the air units next to it get dealt splash damage. If that unit dies, the parasitic bomb will still stay in the spot the unit died until it times out. So that is definitely good. It does help against big blobs of air units. Like, it's very good against mutas. Very good against air units that clump, you know, even liberators it does pretty well against. It does force enemy units to have to split up their troops, or else they can take some nasty damage from the Viper's parasitic bombs. Corruptors gain corruption, or caustic spray. They lost the corruption ability. This allows them to do damage to ground buildings. Let me go check this real quick, because it might be I don't know if you can do it to units too. What it does 4.3 7 damage over 4.3 seconds, and after that it turns into 35 damage per second. So I mean, you can even use your corruptors to take out some idle buildings. So while those corruptors are moving, I'm going to move on. Mutalisk, not much has changed. Muta is still 120, 120. Good for harassment. It do regenerate pretty quickly out of combat. Spore crawlers did get debuffed. They don't do as much to Mutalisk as they used to, so they do less damage now. So they're a little bit better against Zerg versus Zerg. So let me see. Can I even... Let's kill this guy. Let me just see if I can... Can I target a Marine? Nope. You can only use it on structures. So let me see if I can snipe this refiner over here. Spam some caustic sprays. And as you can see, after like 4 seconds, the damage just goes up a whole bunch, and that went down pretty quick. So corruptors actually can be pretty annoying as harassment options, at least taking out buildings, turrets, things like that. Still evolve into the big badass Broodlord, which is over here. Does still do the same attack, long range anti-air to ground siege. I don't know if they changed much. I think they gave him a slight speed boost, it looks like. Does look like he flies a little quicker than he used to. Other than that, still the same old Broodlord he left from Heart of the Swarm. The last one on our lineup is the Ultralisk. Got a sick buff. Now from the Ultra Cavern, the Chitinous Plating gives +4 to Ultralisk. So that means after you have your regular armor from the Evo Chambers and the Chitinous Plating, your Ultralisk will end up with 8 armor, which makes them ridiculously hard to kill, especially for little things like bio. So you definitely need big siege things like Liberators and things to take out Ultralisk, because they will just eat up anything little with like no work at all. Nidoswarms did get a little bit of buff. Now, when they're in the Nidoswarm, the Nidoswarm can't be attacked until it has spawned. So as you can see, I can't even select it right now. It does take a little bit longer before it spawns, but they can't kill your Night Swarm until after it already spawns. So once it spawns, we can just get that Ultralisk out right away. So they can't, you know, can't snipe with some workers anymore. So now, boom, almost instant. Alright, guys. So that seems to be pretty much the changes to the Zerg race. Let me just check these buildings, see if there's any upgrades I forgot to go over. But other than that, everything else seems to be about the same. So anyways, this is the new Zerg race. I did lose my building over there, but it's okay. So anyways, I'll probably do a video, go over the changes to the Protoss race, and see what you guys think. Alright, until next time, GG's, have a good time. I'll see you later.